Hey guys, Tom here. So, Trump's tariffs came into effect over the weekend, and there is a massive economic explosion happening right now. There's a trade war going on between the United States and China. Everything is rising in price, and the economy is just doing terribly. Everything's crashing, and it is just a lot to take in. But basically, Trump introduced some tariffs about a week ago for the entire world. And basically, here in New Zealand, we received a 10% tariff, which literally doesn't make any sense because we are only charging the United States about 2% for our exports. So they just, for no reason at all, they just came and just put this 10% tariff on us, and the economy is just not looking good at the moment. Or is it? Because if we look at this little graph here for you video viewers, you can see that the S&P 500 has indeed risen 9% just today, and 9.52% in one day is just absolutely insane. So everything is rising again quite rapidly, but still not up to the point of where it was before the tariffs came into effect. Because if we look at, we'll just look at a month here, as you can see, everything is all high, everything's just rising here over a month, and then everything just crashed over a couple days. And then everything was just, it went down like, how much did it go down? Probably like 20% over here. And then it came up like, about just over 10% here. So it's coming back up to how it was before. But yeah, as you can see, there's just this massive dip here on this chart on the S&P 500. And if you don't know what the S&P 500 is, it's basically the top 500 Fortune 500 companies in the world. So it's just all the big companies. It's just this EFT sort of thing. But yeah, so anyway, the markets are slowly recovering. But if you look at this chart here, the stocks did really plummet quite a lot, and it is nowhere near up to where it was before. But it's slowly coming back. And
welcome to the world of MarketTalk. Episodes are available on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Basically, just to go over this whole tariff thing, this guy here, IBX Toycat, sums it up pretty well. So let's just go ahead and just quickly see what he has to say about it.
Hello, I'm Toycat, and Trump's tariffs came into effect over the weekend, and this has led to an economic shockwave which has come all around the world. And now, as markets open today, the big headline is that the UK's stock exchange is at a one-year low, Asian markets are suffering their worst day in decades, and as European share prices plunge, you might think that the US is therefore gaining at the cost of all of these other countries, but actually no, the US is also going down. US futures are sharply down, and indeed there are many companies which are actively losing from this. And so, given that every economist has said from the beginning that no one loses in a tariff war, especially when it's reciprocated, it raises the question of what exactly is the what exactly is the end game here, and also who is it that is gaining right now? Because for every winner there is usually a loser, and so for every loser is there a winner? In this case, it's a little bit trickier to see, but let's start with the losers because they're very easy to point at. If you have UK or French or German or Hong Kong stocks, they're probably down by about 10 to 15% this morning, and it's not just stocks in those markets, it's also stocks inside of the United States. Interestingly enough, you can see that it's not just the Hang Seng and all of the other Asian stock markets. US markets are expected to go down at least 3 to 4%, and this is lower than those other drops, but still quite low in that case. Also, you can see that it's not just like traditional investments. Cryptocurrency is down quite a bit. Bitcoin is down 7%, Ethereum is down 18%, and in other words, basically every major asset is down because the world is looking like a less stable place. This also has the interesting knock-on effect of meaning that oil is down, and so another loser from this, it's actually therefore Russia and any other OPEC country, but basically any country in the world that has a decent amount of petroleum as its primary export. All of these countries are going to be suffering because their biggest export, their money maker, what determines how much money they make is not their economy size or how prosperous their population is, it's how much oil they get out of the ground and how much people pay them for that stuff. And
so yeah, basically, essentially what IBX Toycat is saying there is that Trump just does not know what he's doing at all. Nobody can understand why Trump is putting these tariffs in action. I mean, maybe if it was only like 2% for some countries, but like putting a set rate of like at least 10% per country, like an AI generated list, is just absolutely insane. No economist out there understands why Trump is doing this. All of the economists out there just think this is a terrible idea. Because the thing about tariffs is that there are literally no winners in this situation. Because when you put a tariff in action, basically all the other countries out there are just going to do the same thing and put another tariff out there, and then free trade is just going to be gone, and it just makes no sense. It's just a tit for tat sort of thing that happens. Like, there's just no winners in this whole tariff trade war situation here. So there's really no countries out there that benefit from this, especially not US. In fact, I think the United States is actually doing the worst from this tariff introduction here. Because I'm beginning to think that Trump just has no idea what tariffs are. He has no financial knowledge at all, and I know he is a successful businessman with all these hotel chains and all that, so I know he does have some business knowledge, but he doesn't understand how a large-scale economy works, because this is just not the way you run an economy. Like, every single sensible economist out there that I've heard from understands that this is just a terrible idea, and really there's just going to be no benefits to do with this at all. Maybe you could argue there might be some long-term benefits once the markets start to cool a little bit, but for now, like, prices are just rising so much, and the stock market is just crashing, and there's really been no benefits that we've seen so far. So yeah, it's really just a very strange situation that's going on here. But just to quickly explain why the stock market has risen over the past couple of days quite a lot. Well, basically, Trump has delayed the introduction of the tariffs for like another 90 days, I'm pretty sure, for most countries, except for China. There's a very big trade war going on with China. Trump recently introduced a 120-something% tariff on China. But this is the thing, because China can literally just, keep going and just introduce a 130% tariff on America. So there's really no one that can win with these situations. Like, it's just such a stupid thing, and I really honestly just think Trump should just stop doing this and just apologize, say he was wrong, because clearly this is just not the right way to go about it. Because like I said before, New Zealand literally... We rely on free trade here in New Zealand, and we only have, like, as I said, 2% taxes on New Zealand imports from America, and then here America comes and they just, like, slap these 10% tariffs on just with no consideration at all. It's like they just had this intern just looking at this list of countries and just, saying, oh, yep, we're going to slap a 10% tariff on for New Zealand, 15% for this country, 20% for this country, 104% for China, because why not? So it literally just makes no sense at all. And I heard that there was some country in America... Well, hang on, let me actually just search this up. I heard that there was some sort of island in the middle of the ocean that's fully inhabited by penguins, that got like a 10% tariff from Trump. Hang on, let me just research this, guys. Island with penguins tariff. Is this true? Hang on, this cannot be true. Yes, Trump imposed tariffs on remote islands inhabited only by penguins. What the hell? So this is actually a real thing, and just to show you that this is real, here is a BBC article. US defends tariffs on remote island of penguins and seals. So this just goes to show, like, if they actually had proper consideration with their tariffs and actually put time and effort into thinking, okay, yes, so New Zealand has only got 2% tariffs on us, so we're just going to put maybe 2.5% tariffs on them. So instead of doing that, you can see just from this, I mean, this is just evidence here that they literally just put no consideration. It was just such a rushed, like 20-minute thing that they just got a like ChatGPT to just write a list of countries and just put tariffs on them, and just there's just no consideration going on with these tariffs at all. Like, you can just tell from this. And it's like, you would think that the American markets would be the only safe markets in the world in this situation, and that America would be the one safe country to be at. But actually, no, it's the opposite thing. Basically, it's just rebounded, and America is just doing absolutely terribly at the moment. And I actually found a meme that pretty much sums this up very well. There are honestly a lot of good memes out there. Like, here we have one with Trump saying, pay the tariffs to these penguins. And then the penguins are saying, we'll be taking our business elsewhere. So it's like there's literally nowhere to escape. Like, even just uninhabited penguin islands are just slapped with these tariffs. It's just absolutely insane. We got JD Vance here saying, you never said thank you for those tariffs. And then we got Trump here with a list, and it's got like Middle Earth, and like they get 45% tariffs, and then Hogwarts get 33% tariffs, Mars 54%, and it's just so insane. But this meme in particular here sums it up very well. This is pretty much just how tariffs work here. So I've basically just got Trump in front of a fan peeing, and then the pee just splashes back in his face. And it's just, that's really how tariffs work, because he's trying to impose these stupid tariffs on these countries, but then it just completely rebounds because all the other countries are just doing the exact same thing. So that's essentially how tariffs work, really. But that was a bit of a tangent there, but basically what I was just saying there was that Trump pretty much just imposed a 90-day delay for these tariffs to come into effect, and so from that the markets have bounced back up quite a bit, as we discussed, and especially these Tesla shares here. Like, over 1 day, Tesla shares have risen by 22.69%, and that is just absolutely insane. 22% stock rise in 1 day is just so insane. But looking at, like, actually, hang on, I was just about to say over like 5 days it hasn't risen back up to where it was, but it actually has. Over 5 days it's risen 2.68%, so it's back up higher than when it was before the Trump tariffs. So there you go. But really, it's just a bit of a confusing time at the moment. Just reading this article, but it's basically, the title is, it's from RNZ, saying China-US tariff war will be felt by New Zealand exporters. So while these tariffs haven't really affected New Zealand too much just yet, the exporters will definitely be feeling some sort of effect from these, well, not directly from the tariffs on New Zealand just yet, but there will be some sort of effect felt from New Zealand by the trade war that's going on between the US and China right now. But basically, New Zealand-China Council's executive director believes the trade war between China and the US will continue until the two countries have their hands on each other's throats. So that's a bit of an interesting analogy there. With two countries being New Zealand's largest export markets, it could mean tough times for Kiwi businesses. On Wednesday, New Zealand time, dozens of US President Donald Trump's tariffs on imports came into force, including 104% tariffs on goods from China. Trump had given China 24 hours to roll back its decision to place reciprocal duties on US goods. Instead, China returned the fire, calling Trump's ultimatum blackmail, and vowed to fight to the end. So basically, this whole trade war here is just going to be a tit for tat sort of thing. Like, this is just going to keep on going until it gets up to like 1,000%. because they're just going to keep returning these higher tariffs, and there's going to be no one winning from this situation. Both the US and Asian stock markets have just crashed, and there's really just no benefits to the situation at all. But anyway, the trade war escalation would likely impact New Zealand, one expert said. China is New Zealand's largest market for export goods, and some Kiwi businesses manufacture there. So basically, as I just said, the tariffs have not been placed on New Zealand just yet, so that's not really the concern for New Zealand at the moment. It's really just the trade war with China and the US, because as the article just mentioned, China is the United States, the New Zealand's biggest export market. So obviously, with this trade war going on here, the prices in China have been rising quite a lot because of this market uncertainty. So therefore, the cost of exporting to not only China, not only the United States, but also China, is rising quite a lot. Not substantially, but it is still rising. Because me personally, I haven't really sort of felt any impact yet from this trade war. So there hasn't really been too big sort of price rises just yet. The inflation hasn't been too bad. But it's really just the investors that I'm worried about. The international sort of investors that have been investing in these US stocks here, because the shares have fallen quite a lot, as we just discussed. So it's really at the moment, the investors are really just the ones that will be mostly feeling the impact of this trade war here. But here in New Zealand, for everyday consumers, it hasn't really been too big of a deal just yet. The prices haven't really been rising too much, but maybe when the tariffs have been placed on New Zealand exports, maybe that's when things might change. But anyway, so New Zealand exported almost New Zealand dollar $10 billion worth of goods to China year to December 2024. In comparison with $9 billion to our next biggest market, the US. So the United States is New Zealand's second largest export market, so that is a little bit of a concern, but nowhere near as big as our China market, which, as it just said, $18 billion since December 2024. So that is a lot of money there, so we definitely will be feeling the impact soon. New Zealand China Council Executive Director Asal whatever the hell that name is, I'm not reading that, told Checkpoint there is going to be some tough times ahead. It's a very grim situation globally, and China is the largest export market, not just for us, but for about 120 other countries. So everyone is looking at this with a lot of concern. So these tariffs were definitely expected, but they weren't expected at the rate that they are. Like 10% is just ridiculous. We were not expecting tariffs to be this high, and also especially for the countries of Mexico, Canada, and China. Because I'm pretty sure these countries received at least a like 50% tariff, which is just absolutely insane. Now China's up to like 104, and it's just so much. It's just so unexpected at the moment. This basically just highlights the need for New Zealand to build a local capacity. So we can't just keep relying on imports into New Zealand. We really need to start, building some sort of local capacity, for products and services. Like, we just cannot keep relying on Chinese goods to run the country. We just can't keep importing cars, for example. We need to start building cars in New Zealand once again, because we did used to do that. We used to have like plants in New Zealand where we built like Mazdas and Toyotas, but now we just don't do that anymore. So we just need to go back to actually building cars here in New Zealand, and just building as much as we can, really. We just cannot keep relying on other countries because these tariffs are just going to keep rising and it's just going to get so insane. And it's really just so annoying because New Zealand used to rely on free trade. There was a point in time where we just had this free trade situation going on with all these countries, but not anymore because of old Trumpy. And me personally, I just think that there has never been a better time to introduce a Kansic union. And for those of you who do not know what Kansic is, it is basically Canada, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom and Australia. So it's kind of this, I'm just going to show you their website here. It's sort of this little foundation sort of organization thing here, and it's called Kansic International, and they basically just want to form this sort of bond between Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. So they don't necessarily want to merge all of the countries together just to create this one country. That's not what they're aiming for. They really just want to sort of just form a bit of a bond between the four countries, really. And basically the mission of this whole Kansic Union International organization here is there's really a few things. So they really just want freedom of movement between the four countries. It's basically just free trade, really. So you just get free, you get to export your goods for free into these four countries here. So it's just a bit of a trade union sort of thing. Then there's going to be foreign policy cooperation, because all of these four countries really just share the same values. They have the same policies, and they're just really similar countries, really. We all speak English. We all carry the same values, and if there were to be four countries to form a union, then these would be the best fits, really, these four countries here. So I honestly just think that now is just the perfect time to form a Kansic union, because we just need free trade. We just need free trade to operate properly. But anyway, so to move on from that, we are now just going to take a quick look at what David Parker has to say about the whole Trump tariffs thing. And David Parker is basically just an economist here in New Zealand. So let's just go ahead and hear what he has to say on Q&A with Jack Tame here.
Donald Trump has consistently bucked conventional political wisdom, and on some occasions, his supporters would argue that he has been proven right. Is there any scenario in which this economically benefits either the US or the global economy?
Well, all of the economic pundits are saying there's a slowdown coming in the world economy. There's a pathway through for New Zealand. I don't think New Zealand needs to panic, and we certainly shouldn't put in countervailing tariffs. Is there possible for some good to come out of this? Well, look, as in all things, there's generally two sides to every story, and there is some legitimate complaint on the part of the US in respect of the massive goods surplus that's run by the likes of Germany and to a certain extent Canada because of the tariffs they've imposed on the US. So it is possible, I suppose, that there will be these things will be revisited, and some of those things would be remedied. Now, if they are, what happens next is the question. And you might have said that I think that we should be trying to get Europe into CPTPP.
Yeah, talk to us about that, because CPTPP is, obviously central to New Zealand's current trade standing. The UK is part of it, the EU not yet.
That's correct. Now, CPTPP is essentially ahead of World Trade Organization rules now. It's a really good agreement. If we could get Europe in there, it's already got a lot of Asia in, Japan, Canada, Mexico, us, Australia. It was actually originally a New Zealand initiative with Singapore and a couple of other countries. That would effectively become the de facto World Trade Organization, in my view.
Yeah.
So I think the New Zealand government trade officials, who are outstanding, by the way, they should be on their bike to Europe to see whether that's a possibility.
What will the level of enthusiasm be in Europe, given they have 20% tariffs? The EU has 20% tariffs with the US right now.
Well, I think if the US, the US is very nervous at the moment. Partly it relates to security issues arising out of Ukraine, and the withdrawal of the implicit US security guarantee, which looks less reliable these days. But partly it is these tariff wars that are around, and there will be some wise heads in all of these governments trying to find a pathway through.
But you think the level of enthusiasm in Europe and in the EU is likely to be there for joining the CPTPP?
I was in Europe a few weeks ago. This idea was mentioned to me by someone who is very senior in trade channels over there. But I think it relies as a prerequisite probably on some agreement being reached between the US and Europe.
Right.
So that's basically just a little bit of a word from David Parker there. And yeah, so there's really just no benefits to this at all. But New Zealand is not going to be imposing tariffs on America at this stage. We're really just going to be sticking to our 2.5 or whatever it was percent taxes we've got on American imports there. But it's just a really unfair situation because, comparing 2.5 or whatever it was percent to 10%, which they're imposing on us, is just absolutely insane. And from what I've heard, the government is doing something about this. So I don't think Luxon is going to be speaking directly to Trump, but we will be having some of our foreign affairs ministers speaking to the United States government about this and trying to clear this up, because they really just cannot have this minimum tariff of 10%. It's just so unfair, because if we look at this list here, so here we have the list of Trump tariffs here, and basically the United States is just making it out to be like a good thing, a kind thing by introducing these reciprocal tariffs here, because they're saying that China has these 67% tariffs on the US imports to China, which is just an absolute lie. And then here we have the USA, in quotes, discounted reciprocal tariff of 34% on China imports there, which is just it's just so insane what they're doing. They're trying to make it out to be like some sort of kind thing that they're doing, but New Zealand is actually in a very good spot at the moment, because as you can see here, some of these tariffs are just so high. Like we got Vietnam with 46% here, and then what's Canada? Canada was, I'm pretty sure, like 50% or something ridiculous like that. This is just a very unorganized list, by the way. I'm trying to find Canada on here, but it's literally not even like alphabetically ordered or anything. It's not even ordered into any sort of order at all. So it's a very terrible list, I must say. But anyway, so we got New Zealand here, and they're saying here that we have 20% tariffs charged to the USA for our exports, which is just absolute horse manure. We do not charge the US 20% for their exports at all. I don't know where they got that figure from, because as I've said already many times on this episode, we only charge the US like 2 point something percent. So that's just an absolute lie. So the government is currently engaging with the US government about this and trying to clear up this little lie here, because as I said before, this literally just looks like an AI generated thing. Like, where did they even get this information from? The highest one on here that I can see is the Madagascar tariffs. Apparently Madagascar is charging the US like 93% for tariffs, which is just absolutely insane. I don't know if that's true. It might be. But here comes the United States slapping on 47% tariffs. So there you go. So yeah, it's just a very strange situation here. I really don't think that there's that much more I can cover here. I really don't want to be getting into too much political stuff on this podcast here. There is one more thing I kind of wanted to explain. Basically, the only thing that I have noticed with these tariffs so far, with this trade war that's going on, is the price of Nikes. So this may come as a bit of a surprise, but the only thing that I've noticed is that the prices of Nikes in New Zealand has risen quite a bit because Nike obviously is a US export to New Zealand, and it's really the only thing that I can think of where the price has actually risen quite a bit. Because I don't really think we get too much from the United States. What do we even get anyway? But anyway, I'm just trying to stay away from political topics as much as possible in this podcast. So I'm going to not go on about tariffs too much. So this might be a little bit of a shorter episode. But I kind of just wanted to get that off my chest because it's just such an annoying thing going on here. But we've got 90 days left of free trade in New Zealand, but I'm just hoping that all of the other countries out there just don't do the same thing and start imposing all of these tariffs on all the countries out there, including like islands entirely inhabited by penguins like the US did, because that's just idiotic there. I don't know what Trump is thinking here. So it's just a very stupid thing that's going on here, and hopefully Trump will come to his senses and just think, you know what, maybe tariffs aren't quite a good idea, because no economist out there thinks this is a good idea at all. Tariffs in general, especially reciprocal tariffs, are just such a stupid idea, and it's just really not going to work. So hopefully this won't last for too long. And hopefully the stock market does get back up to where it was before. We are seeing some good signs in the market, but yeah, it's just a very interesting time at the moment. But let's just see where we end up with this whole tariff situation. So I don't think there's too much else to go over. So without further ado, we may be going over this a little bit later, and if this just continues to just get even more out of control, we'll see, guys. But without further ado, don't forget to like and subscribe for the next Market Talk episode, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye. Oh, yep, wrong button.
Market Talk is a production of TeamTMS. For more episodes of Market Talk just like this one, visit us on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you